Hello, I'm Michael Lanuto, a local financial professional and co-founder of the International Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, and I'm from Catskill, New York. So when Woodstock 94 happened, I was living in Catskill, maybe about 10 miles from where the festival was held, with my parents. I was 16 years old at the time. I heard about the festival through, my friends heard about it, following on TV. At the time, as a teenager, you're watching MTV, so it was always broadcast on MTV, the local newspaper. Just throughout the community, there was a buzz stirring about this huge festival that was happening, and the anticipated large amount of people that were going to be in the area. So a bunch of friends of mine, we all decided that we wanted to go to the festival to see what was happening. And how could you not go to something this historic that was happening only a few miles away from where we were living? But being 16 years old, you didn't have the kind of money to buy tickets to go to the festival. Well, one of my friends had a connection and lined up for us to work for one of the food vendors that was going to be at the festival. I believe it was one of the pizza makers that we were going to be working for, that was going to be set up right in front of the main stage where we were going to be. So one of the things that I remember about the festival, and I believe it was that Saturday, we had me and a couple of my friends, we went to, I believe it was the North Stage, and Green Day was playing. And I remember getting there, we had to go walk down the hill, and it was just covered with mud. Mud was everywhere. And there were people sliding down it face first, on their backs, no clothes on. And at the top of the hill were a bunch of the porta potties were all over. And with that, there were thousands and thousands of people that were at the festival. And there's no way it was just mud. Yeah, it had rained Friday night, but it was a mixture of sewage and the mud and stuff like that. So I remember, we had got garbage bags that we crafted as the ponchos to put over ourselves. And we made it down to the show, to the stage where Green Day was. And they're playing, and I forget what the lead singer Billy Joe had said, but next thing we know, there was just mud flying all over the place. They got covered with mud. The guitars had mud on them. The drum set was covered with mud. Then they started throwing mud from the stage back into the audience, and it was just chaos. It was breaking out, but it was friggin' awesome that what was happening. The interaction between the band and the crowd, and I'd have to go back to watch the videos, because I remember I recorded, set up the VHS tape deck to record what was, I think we rented the pay-per-view of it, and I tried to record all 3 days of it while I was there, so I could go back to watch the shows that were happening. And that's one of the memories that I had from that day. And same stage, I think it was later in the day, Primus was playing. And when they started playing My Name is Mud, all hell broke out again, and mud flying all over the place. Stage got covered with mud. It was just chaos, but it was awesome. So another story that I remember was, this was Sunday evening. So the festival was starting to wind down. I remember I believe it was Peter Gabriel was playing on the stage. But now by this time, a lot of the vendors were running out of food. There was very limited water available. And I remember because of that, they started jacking up the prices on food and water and a regular drink for people because of the limited supply. And that just instigated an already sort of hostile environment, because you had people that had paid a lot of money to get into the festival. And then there were people that tore down the perimeter fencing that came down, and then people were just walking in for free. So there was already a little bit of hostility happening. But then when there was a shortage of food and water, again, all hell started breaking loose, and like little mini riots started happening. And I remember looking at a couple of my friends that were with me. Again, we were at one of our food vendor that we were working for at the time, and we're like, all right, it's time to get out of here. So we just grabbed up whatever stuff that we had brought with us that was salvageable, that wasn't covered in mud or filthy, and just started following a herd of people that were leaving. And I remember we cut through some woods along the side of Route 32, and hopped over some of the down fencing and got on Route 32 and just headed north. I had parked my car off of Lauren Tice Road in between Route 9W and Old Kings Road on Friday when I had got down to the festival, and I think we walked back. I don't remember that well because there was just so much that was happening, but I think we walked back to my car, which was probably about 5 miles away at the time in pitch black. There were no cell phones, or we didn't have flashlights with us because we weren't prepared for any of that. So when we got home, the next couple days, I remembered, for some, I don't know why I saved it, but like the sneakers that I was wearing that were covered in mud, my sleeping bag that was covered in mud, and then just talking with my friends that were there about, what happened. A couple of us had gotten separated, and we didn't know how each other got home. Because again, we didn't have there were no cell phones back then. It was a payphone. And, you're in the middle of Route 32, and surrounded by woods, no way to contact our parents. Fortunately, I had my car, but, when you're separated from everybody else, how long are you going to wait for someone to get to the meeting spot to then meet up to drive home? So we're just trying to figure out, how everybody got home, and just, the chaos that happened that night. And then, as the days went on, the weeks went on, just sharing stories with other friends that weren't able to go to the festival, and just share our experiences about, the different shows, the different bands that were playing, and just the weird stuff that was going on. When you put, thousands of people in an area with good music and, nice weather, except for the rain, but it did break out a little bit with some good weather. Weird things happen. So the festival impacted my life going forward with, one, just being part of history. There was no way that I could have lived, 10 miles away from an historic event like this happening. It's still talked about today, and that's why we're doing it now. There would have been too much regret to have not been there, being living this close. So it was a good time. Would I have allowed my children to do that? No. Today I would not allow my son or daughter to go to something like that. But it was a different time back then. We're talking, over 30 years ago. So it's, and the stories I still tell, and share with my friends from high school and stuff. And it turns out my now wife's sister, she was there, at the festival, and who was older. And it just, and you come across people who share stories like, oh yeah, I was there too. So it can be a nice bonding moment between people, just having stories to share about a major historical event that happened within our community. Would I do anything differently there? No, I don't think so. As a 16-year-old kid, what do you know when you're there? You can't prepare for something as large as Woodstock '94 that happened. I remember a couple years later being in college, and Woodstock '99 happened out in Rome, New York. And I had friends of mine from college that went out to it. I didn't want to go. It didn't have the same feel as Woodstock '94 did. historically and monumentally of it. But no, I wouldn't have done anything different. Maybe brought another camera to take more pictures. But you're not thinking about that. You're just enjoying the moment when you're there. It's not my job to document it. It's my job to enjoy it and to live it, what was happening. I'm Michael Lanuto, again, from Catskill, New York, and I hope you enjoyed me sharing my story.